Good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming to Checkpoint Experience 2017. I'd like to give you a different view on cybersecurity. Start by saying that actually, surprisingly or not, we live in an amazing world. If we put aside for a second all the cynical day-to-day life, it is an amazing world, and I'm going to share with you why. I don't know if you know, we live much longer than ever before, and life expectancy continues to go up. Our quality of living is actually much better. Level of poverty goes down. We are much more educated than before. I don't know if you know, even the ozone layer is actually healing, and that's not a fake news. So that's really, really, really happening. The question is, why is it happening? That's about the ozone layer, sorry. The question is, why is it happening? And why is it happening now? And the answer for that is technology. But not only technology, but the exponential growth of adoption of technologies. So let me explain you a bit more about exponential growth of technology. Our mind thinks linear. So we think that we are in one stage and we go up or down in a linear manner. But actually, technology adoption does not behave the same way. If you look at the way things are happening, usually technology at the beginning underperform, and if it's caught up, it's overperform big time. Let me share with you a couple of examples. I don't know if you remember the first mobile phone. I don't know how many people here with white hair like myself, but there was something like that. It was 1.1 kilo. Battery lasted about 20 minutes. I don't know if you remember, but about 25 years ago, Apple has a product called Newton. That's what we call today iPad or tablet. It was a huge failure. And now everybody is using tablets. So definitely you can see that technology is evolving during time. Let's maybe understand the exponential part in a mathematical way, in an easy mathematical way. So a small exercise. I'm walking 30 steps. Each step is a meter. How long would I go? 30 meters. Great. That's quite simple. But what will happen if I walk exponentially, meaning the first step is 1, the second will be 2, the third step will be 4, 8, and so forth. 30 steps like that. Any idea what will be the distance? Speculation? That will be about 1 billion meters. It's 26 times Earth. That's the powerful exponential thinking. And I want to show you that technology behaves exactly like that. 1951, a transistor was invented, actually 2 transistors on a small board. 20 years later, Intel came up with a board, nice environment. Now it's 2,300 transistors on the same size of the board. But now, exponential kick off. And 40 years later, on the same size of a board, there's 7.1 billion transistors. That's about 100 billion time fold improvement on cost and on performance. Just the usage of technology, and that's changed our lives. Maybe I'll give you another example. We have, all of us carry, small devices, could be Apple Watch, could be smartphone, and so forth. So what used to be in 1985 a Cray 2, that's a big supercomputer, 2 of them is actually the compute power that each and every one of us has in its pocket. Just the size of what we do with technology. And not only the technology continue to evolve, the usage of technology evolves. So if I'm looking on the way people are, for example, connected to the internet, as you can see in this graph, 2020 will be about 8 billion people in the world. And as you can see, 20 years ago, there was about 6% of the population was connected to the internet. And it's grown up to 2/3 of population will be connected to the internet in 2020. The major reason for that, by the way, is mobility. For example, Africa skip a generation. They don't use legacy. They do everything on mobile. Quite amazing to see. So we're talking about 5 billion people connected to the internet. And think about what those 5 billion people will do, what they will create, consume, invent. Let's look at a couple of examples like that. So this is here in California, so we definitely see autonomous car. It starts picking up slowly, slowly. It's definitely on the underperformed stage. This is, by the way, quite unique autonomous car. As you can see, there's no steering wheel. That's the best thing we can do, because if people don't have a way to control those cars, they will use it. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess. 3D printing. We need to feed 8 billion people, so we'll print food. I've been to the Tel Aviv University recently. I saw a 3D printing machine printing a heart from live tissues. So that's not a science fiction. That's really, really happening. And especially for the women in the audience, you can print shoes every day. That definitely will change our life. Drones. Many of us have drones, mostly for pictures and stuff like that. We start seeing delivery. Uber recently announced that they will use drone to carry people from roof to roof. So we're going to see that's changing as well. But technology also changed companies, changed business model. Look at all those companies here. So Uber is the biggest taxi company on earth. They don't own a car. Actually, one autonomous car that has some accident. Airbnb do not own any rooms, and they're the biggest hoteling company. Facebook, it's a media company. They don't own content. They're all technologies companies. Amazing. That's what really changed in the world. So that people create many, many things. I haven't talked at all about artificial intelligence, and I haven't talked about robotics and what happened in biotech space. Amazing things that happen. Now, let's think about what happened in the IT space for a second. On the IT space, there are a couple of things that changed in order to support this revolution. For one side, what really people care about is being agile. That's the time to come up with new application. It used to be about a year. Now it's a matter of hours. People expect to come up with new applications all the time. They don't want anything to stop them. In order to do so, also the underlying technology has changed. From something well-defined, clear network under my premises, it's open up totally. Compute is happening everywhere. It's happening on my premises, it's happening on hosting environment, it's happening on the cloud, it's happening on IoT, on mobile devices. We actually don't care. We don't care where's the compute happening. We just want to have an application ready for us. That means that the whole notion, when we think about security of something which is quite straightforward to protect, that's going to be in our full meshing environment. And indeed, when you look and read throughout different technology, you see that security is the #1 barrier, and I hope also the #1 enabler to use those amazing technologies that people create. From IoT to cloud to autonomous cars, the first question people ask is, okay, I'm going to use those technology. I'm going to open my network. I'm going to open my information. What about security? And indeed, just to support that, things are happening. So this attack was at the end of 2015. It's a public cloud that many of us use, been hacked, and 1.5 million records of American, and that's healthcare records, including not only the social numbers and stuff like that, but also the medical condition, were out there. Another interesting attack happening on the grid in Ukraine. That's happening in December 2015, and actually happened again in December 2016. I wonder if it's happening every December. But you can see here that almost a 250,000 people have been without electricity. Gil mentioned before, you cannot talk anymore near to your TV. That's clear, right? Definitely we see that people are hacking or get access to things that we have in our houses. And I think the last thing is quite interesting. That's a doll called Maya Kaya that basically parents in Germany was instructed to destroy because they found vulnerabilities where this doll that connected to the internet so they can talk with the kids been hacked, and people get access to those informations. So definitely there's significant attacks are happening, and it's happening everywhere because technology is everywhere. And the question is, so how we deal with that? How can we continue to inspire and build things and progress the humankind where we want it to be while being secure? So let's look at the industry today. This is different vectors of attack: viruses, malicious websites, intrusions, bots. And the technology that is there in the industry today, as you can see, it's actually fit to every vector of attack. So there's viruses, and then there's antiviruses. There's intrusion, and there's intrusion prevention. Bot and botnet. It's very clear to see from this picture that this is very, very reactive approach. Probably not the approach that will move us forward. And more than that, when I go out and talk to customers, and I'm talking with a lot of them, what I see is that people have significant amount of technologies. They find themselves with a lot of patched solutions. Most of them are dealing with detection, and many of them are dealing with known threats versus the unknown. So definitely not the right security for the new era of what things are happening today in the technology space. So let's imagine for a second, what would we need from the future cybersecurity systems? What is it that we're missing? And I try to put it into 3 major characteristics. The first one, and probably the most important one, is that we want to have an effective security. At the end of the day, when you choose security, it's because you want to be secure. And sometimes I see people totally miss that. They're talking about function and feature. They're talking about feed and speed and forget about the security aspect of the security product that you just bought. We need to stop things. We just need to catch them and stop them. That's the asset of security. And that's the number one most important things. Now, I'm aware of this discussion, people that give up on, decided not to talk about prevention anymore and doing detection. So just interesting examples. I pick 8 for you, most of them actually happening in the US, of what happened when you choose not to fight against the threat and just focus on detection. It's meaning that your system wouldn't be hacked. It's meaning that all the reputation, the bad reputation, the management attention, and the remediation is something that you need to work on. You can see that detection takes a long time. In those attacks, most of them are above a year. So definitely, people that took that approach, it's not an effective solution out there. So what do we need? We need prevention, real-time prevention, first-time prevention. So we just need to block things at the first time that are happening, and that's the most important things. We need to prevent both the known and the unknown threats. So traditional controls, but also the most advanced one. We need to look at attack as in a holistic way, understanding that it can come from many ways. So when I try to look at an attack, that's the kill chain. I'm coming from the Middle East, so we choose a bullet over here. Easy for us. So 4 stages of attack. By the way, this is a model being created by Lockheed, not by us. Reconnaissance is where the stage where a hacker is actually choosing a victim. It could be done automatically. It could be done with targeted attacks. Once he knows that and he knows the system, he creates a malware and delivers the malware mostly through web and mail. This is the most common ways today. There are others, but this is probably the most common one. Then he needs to exploit the system. He needs to use the vulnerability he knows of and take advantage of that and actually manage to get the malware to run on the system. And once that's happening, he creates a command and control and actually do whatever he wants. So you need to look at that holistic approach and understand that you also need to have some kind of a holistic security for that. And you need to make sure that you protect each and every step of this attack. And if you do it correctly, you basically block things before they get to you. That's the critical part of what we need to do. So number one, effective security. Security that actually block things. The second thing is that security have to be everywhere. Cloud, mobile, IoT. Remember that only the weakest link count. You can protect huge part of your environment, and then somebody come up with an infected mobile devices, and it doesn't matter all what he did in one place. To show you those examples, I pick a couple of attacks. Some of them are old, some of them are new. To show you that attack started at one place and finished totally at a different place. So Stuxnet started with USB. The target attack actually started with the air conditioning systems. The attack starting with phishing, attack starting with mobile. The approach have to be an architecture play. It cannot be just one specific things and then another specific section of the IT and another specific section of the IT. It have to be something that is a full architecture. We need to protect each and every part, whatever it is, IoT, mobile, cloud, network, virtual network, endpoint. All of them has to be connected to one place, and everything has to be managed from one place. So an architecture play. And the last thing is the security have to be efficient. We need to be humble about our business and knowing that security spends something between 4 to 10% of the IT budget. And we also need to understand that business need to develop goods, develop new services, progress and grow. And security is just the enabler. It's not the business itself. So we need to take that into consideration. And actually, when I'm looking at data, it's quite amazing. You can see that security spend continue to go up quite rapidly. But there's no correlation to the level of confidence. Actually, there is a correlation, just an opposite correlation. People invest more and doesn't feel more secure about it. So when we're looking at efficient security, I would give you 3 advice. 1, consolidation. There's no need to have significant amount of devices in the network. You need to reduce your footprint in the network. You need to consolidate because things need to work in harmony. Second, use cloud technology. Use the notion or the idea of cloud where it allows you to share IOCs, it allows you to create new protection in real time, and it will affect all the environment. It allows you to update things in real time, and it also solves some of the performance issue because you can do many things in the cloud. And the last thing, you need to manage everything from a single management, with a single architecture, with a single policy. If you do it all together, you have something very, very efficient that save you about 20 to 25% on your CapEx spending and save you about 50% on the human capital investment. To summarize, you need to have one single architecture. That's a security that you need. That's a security you deserve. It has to be effective. It has to be efficient. And it really has to run everywhere. And those characteristics guided us when we come up with the Checkpoint Infinity. Thank you very much.